This is the Aristocats in the Coziest Carriage from our Disney Bedtime Favorites book. The Aristocats, the Coziest Carriage. One day, O'Malley and Duchess took the kittens to visit their dear friend Scat Cat. O'Malley had lived in the same neighborhood as Scat Cat back in the day when they were both alley cats. But then O'Malley had met Duchess and her kittens, Berlice, Toulouse, and Marie. He liked them so much, he decided to become part of their family. They all lived in a grand mansion with the kindly owner, Madame Banfamille. Even though he'd moved, O'Malley liked to go visit his old pals. Scat Cat lived in a junkyard in a broken-down carriage that had once been very grand. Now the spokes on the wheels were damaged and there was an enormous hole in the roof. Still, as far as Scat Cat was concerned, it could not have been more perfect.
"I feel fine here," he told the kittens. "I can come and go as I please, and when I stretch out on the cushions at night, I'll look up and there are the stars a-twinkling back at me."
The kittens had a grand time playing with Scat Cat in the junkyard, but when the sun came down, they were glad to return to the soft pillows, cozy blankets, and warm milk at Madame Bonnefille's.
I hope the police gave that boy a ticket.
Okay, I'm reading the story, Kayla.
Or else you're going to ruin it again.
A few days later, Scat Cat appeared at Madame's doorstep.
"My carriage is missing,"
he explained to his friends.
"I went to town to stretch my legs, and when I got back, poof, the carriage was gone."
"You will have to stay with us," said Duchess. "I'm sure Madame would be delighted to have you as our guest." "Oh, goody!" the kittens cheered. "You'll love it here," said Berlice.
"Well," Scat Cat said, thinking it over, "that's a mighty nice invitation. Don't mind if I do."
He plopped into an armchair.
No ripped cushions here."
The kittens scampered up next to him. "Of course not," Marie said. "Madame would never allow worn-out chairs in her house. Only the best furniture will do." Scat Cat nodded.
"I guess everyone just has a different idea of what best is, little lady. Me, I prefer cushions with the stuffing coming out of them. But who knows, maybe I'll get used to this."
"Would you like to paint with me?" Toulouse asked. "How about I play a little piano music?" asked Berlice. "Or you could sing with me," Marie offered. "Now, children," Duchess said. "Scat Cat just arrived. Let him sit in a little while." But after just one night, Scat Cat didn't know if he would settle in. The life of a house cat just wasn't for him. Everything at Madame Bonnefille's happened on a schedule. Meals were at 8 o'clock, noon, and 6 o'clock sharp. Naps were from 9 to 11 and 1 to 4. Outings took place at 4:30. The rest of the time was spent in the house or in Madame's small walled garden. The old cat was used to coming and going as he pleased.
"Do you know what I miss most?"
Scat Cat said with a sigh.
"My old carriage. What I wouldn't give to be able to look up at the sky and count the twinkling stars as I drift off to sleep on those lumpy, worn-out cushions."
It was hard for the kittens to imagine how any cat could like a broken-down carriage better than a soft, cozy bed. But that's what Scat Cat came to love, and that was good enough for them. I just wish there was a way we could get that carriage back for him, Marie said. Maybe there is, Berlus said with a grin. Follow me. He led the kittens to the drawing room where their mother was relaxing. Can we go into the carriage house, Mama? Berlus asked. Well, the mother replied, you are supposed to be practicing your Italian this afternoon. But it's for a special surprise for Scat Cat, Tilly said. All right then, Duchess said, but just for a while. A few minutes later, the kittens inside Madam's carriage house. For some time now, Madam had been complaining about her old carriage. It's not even worth repairing, she had said one day. With this in mind, Berlus climbed into the carriage, unfurled his claws, and gleefully pounced on the old upholstery. Come on, dig in, he said gleefully. Toulouse and Marie joined him, and in no time the kittens had those cushions looking just like the ones in Scat Cat's old carriage. Don't forget the roof, Marie reminded her brothers. The kittens raced up to the top of the carriage where they jumped up and bounced to their heart's content. Finally, after a triple backward somersault, Toulouse came crashing through the carriage roof, making a hole the size of Madame's parasol. Hooray! Cheered Marie. Just then, Madame walked in. She looked at the carriage and smiled. It's worse than I remember. At last I have an excuse to buy a new one, she said. Take this carriage away at once. That evening, the kittens got permission to take Scat Cat to the junkyard.
I don't believe it,
Scat Cat said when they showed him his new home.
The seats are even more torn up than the ones in my old carriage. And look at that hole in the roof. It's perfect. How can I ever thank you?
Just remember and promise you'll come back to visit us again, Berlus told him. And maybe have a little warm milk on hand when we come to see you.
It's a deal,
Scat Cat replied. The kittens visited with their friend until the moon began to rise. Then they waved goodbye and headed home to snuggle beneath their cozy blankets. In his new carriage, Scat Cat looked at the stars and smiled contentedly before drifting off to sleep. Good night.